Hello, hello. Today is August 6th, 2024. This is SIG Node weekly meeting. Welcome, everybody. We have a few items on agenda. Let's get going. First is first couple for me. First is kubelet files that being used. Today we have a upgrade policy, and well, after 131, we decided to review this upgrade policy, and specifically, it says that node cannot be upgraded in place. So you need to drain the node first and then do upgrade. And yeah, this is being clarified. And the question that was posed is what files needs to be cleaned up after kubelet was drained, node was drained and kubelet was upgraded. We never test compatibility between versions of those files. So it would be nice to have a clear description of what can be upgraded. So I listed a few files that we use in kubelet. Yeah, besides manifests, we have topology checkpoint file. We have kubelet configuration and drop-in configuration files that are also largely compatible. So I don't even know whether we need to clarify that it needs to be upgraded. Then device plugin directory. This is a strange one because it can be locked by some device plugins that are currently keeping sockets there. So it's impossible to clean up. We just may want to mention that. We have kubelet log file, strange one. We also have certificates and certificates, and I don't know whether SIG storage has something. It might, but I am not aware of it. And for those files, we need to have some kind of documentation explaining when it's safe to not clean up those files, like certificates. Do you want to make people clean up those files? I don't think so. And manifests as well. Like if you want to keep static pods across versions, you probably want to keep this directory in place. But for some configuration, like topology checkpoint, we may want to ask people to clean it up and start fresh. So yeah, the ask here is if anybody wants to volunteer here and help document this. And if somebody remembers other files that are clearly not mentioned there, also please speak up and add more comments. Anybody?
Was there a? I'm reading Jordan's comment and the need to potentially clear these directories before an in-place upgrade. I guess, am I misunderstanding here? Is there a question about not making node drain required, or is this just speaking to other things that may need to be cleaned up while always doing a drain?
Second one.
Okay.
So drain is required, and then after the drain, we also want to clean up directories.
Actually, I think the half year ago, maybe a year ago, the internal ANSOS team, I helped them to, because they need to do some level of the in-place upgrade, right? So we did some internal team, and we did some. Let me compare of the documentation, and make sure, because they are kind of provide some of those kind of things there.
Yeah, I think the team you mentioned, they wanted to make in-place upgrade, but we said that there is no guarantee because we never tested at least upstream. So we may have some tests that are not upstream tests, but
no, it's not the in-place upgrade. Their in-place upgrade is not what we are talking about in-place upgrade. That's more like the deletion, right? So they do want to delete all the files, Kubernetes and node, not just Kubernetes. I think that's a little bit misleading. It's more they want to delete once they want this node before the upgrade. They want to clean previous versions, everything, and so it's more clean deletion paths. So it's the similar what you are mentioning here, right? So let's just compare. Let me just compare that together, and yeah, take a look what we are missing. Or I think you cover very well already. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether we want to make statements that you support in-place upgrade, because we seems to support it based on all the files that we have, but we may not. So I think it's safer just to say we don't support it and list all the files.
I think what
I view it as it's supported. It's just drain is required, largely from the perspective of the upgraded kubelet can't guarantee that old running workloads without the drain are actually properly configured on the host. I guess what I'm wondering is, like, to what depth documentation here is useful, and like I don't believe any of these files need to be deleted, and I'm not aware of a moment where we've broken compatibility off the top of my head as a consequence of those file formats changing. But it's also very likely some container runtimes are storing similar files on disks that might have a maybe a JSON documentation we could link out to, but I can't think of a reason on where the user would have to delete any of these files.
I totally agree with you. That's my first reaction. And
I mean,
when
with my own Red Hat hat on here, like every OpenShift upgrade upgrades the node in place, but we drain the node because you need to guarantee the workload. But I'm not aware. I don't know, Ryan, if you can think of any time we've ever encountered an issue with these files on hosts, that they're not top of mind right now. So I would prefer, like, as a project, that we just ensure configurability or compatibility across minor versions for these file formats that are here, because they're all largely written by the kubelet itself.
We had one case of breakage for the state file for the checkpoint state for device manager,
Okay.
and it's one, but it happened. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a possible issue when we change. I'm not sure it's relevant, but when if we change CPU manager policy and probably memory manager, but I need to check, then we basically, at least in OpenShift, I'm not mistaken, we delete the state file.
Yeah.
I think we do in every restart. So this is probably a hint that something needs to be checked in this area about the compatibility.
Yeah, I guess the other way we could look at this is node drain requirement for kubelet minor version upgrades, where the configuration of the kubelet is the same before the upgrade as it is afterwards. Like, clearly, if you're changing the kubelet configuration, like a CPU manager policy or that type of thing, maybe that's an edge case. But yeah, okay. I can't think of more than what you've enumerated here, Sergey, and I think it's fine. I just don't think we need to encourage the world to delete all these files if the config is common.
Yeah, the most common breakage is remove the feature gate. So old config has the feature gate being set up and it's been removed. So now you need to go and clean up the feature gate. It's the only breakage that I'm aware of.
no, we have the couple breakage before. One is related to storage. Another one is related to the older CNI checkpoint. So that's why in the SIG node in the past, since we are not support real in-place upgrade. Okay, real in-place upgrade is not what documented here, right? So which is required of the not during the pod workload, and you just upgrade the container runtime and also Kubernetes and the change of the config. So we at the earlier time, we decided not to really support that one. So that's why we also try to make sure, unless your API is real, and also Kubernetes, giving Kubernetes is extensible, and every component is can be plugged in on the node, and we really require about the you make sure your API it is relatively stable, and make sure you have the backward compatibility and the forward. But in reality, we do have the several breakage in the history. One, it is the storage. And when it is network in the past, we have to patch.
So what if we really have some files that we need to get rid of? We have some kind of a helper command like kubelet clean slate or something that someone can run post stopping the old kubelet and before starting the new one. So that way, like everyone doesn't have to remember, okay, I need to clean these files and this distro forgot to clean these files. It's centralized in the code and it's just basically removing directories. And whenever we add new code, we evaluate whether it's going to be something like proto and versioned and support upgrades against it, or we need to clear it on an upgrade.
Totally. So this is why we define several of the directory initially, and hope all those kind of the checkpoint, like the plugin checkpoint, is into those probably under certain directory. But in reality, people build a lot of plugins, and some of the plugins out of our control, like the CSI. It is, but they sometimes different CSI implementation. They don't talk to us even, right? Once the CSI team, even SIG storage, not control all those storage vendor implementation. So they have some of the checkpoint on the node once a while and run into issue. So we could, I really think in the documentation, we should say here it is a list of things. Here's the directory structure, and we discourage your checkpoint, but there's the way if you have to checkpoint, because we, in the history, we did, right? And some have to checkpoint, and what kind of things, how you're going to add test. Because the problem is not everything's will a while.
Okay.
Ryan brought up an interesting point in the comments, Ryan brought up an interesting point in the comments, which is like maybe the kubelet should probably do the deletion. I haven't caught up on the other ones, but I agree that if there's a file that we expect a user to delete and the kubelet is responsible for running it, I even think that the kubelet should be the one responsible for deleting it when it's appropriate. Like, I don't think we should even put the onus on the user in that situation.
Yeah, we have something like that in Cryo where we detect the versions of Cryo and then we are able to kind of clean things up if we need to. We can, if something like that makes sense, we can maybe throw together a proposal and see if folks agree.
So Manu just, Peter, this is Manu's responsibility, right? So the Cryo created something and should the Kubernetes responsibility. CSI vendor create something is the Kubernetes responsibility. And the same so like in the past, I insist no checkpoint, but after CNI, we are now relaxed that requirement, right? So in the past, we also define of the structure, directory structure. So we said, okay, delete that structure and the directory and everything. But the people actually, we have several outage in either the GKE before and also Kubernetes. So the people report the problem. It is people they don't report back to the SIG Node. They don't ask SIG Node. Even we have that document. I'm not sure right now that document is still valid somewhere. And we have that document. People still goes to their own directory. And they even ask us to support those directory, which is really hard, like especially storage vendor. So that's kind of a question, how we are going to, we can have some principle guidance, but we cannot 100% to say, here's the clean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my opinion on it is like, if the kubelet creates the file or is generally managing the file, it should be responsible for deleting it. If a plugin creates the file and manages the file, and the kubelet delegates responsibility of that file to the kubelet, to the plugin, then the kubelet's startup should not stop if the plugin fails to do that cleanup. So if we're delegating that responsibility, then the kubelet should be resilient to the failure of the plugin. If those things are true right now, then Like I don't think the kubelet needs to take responsibility for plugins files as long as the kubelet can run independent of those plugins. If the plugins fail, then that's like, on the plugins. We can't stop that.
I totally agree. This is why when the Ansos team reached out to me, I did help them to figure out all the list of the file. I believe that Sergey covered here. And but I think about this kind of vendor, which is the Ansos that time. Vendor's responsibility to clean, but like the catch-all, right? So like device plugin, I don't think about the clean, obviously, right? So, but as the vendor, Kubernetes vendor, it's that responsibility to clean those kind of things if they have the desire, and if it impact our production offer. That's kind of my previous attitude I shared here, yeah, which is aligned with what you say, Peter.
Yeah, totally. And I'm fine with exactly who does it. I think like Kubernetes as a platform ideally would be the one to like self-heal in these situations. But obviously there are situations in the kubelet, like we're not going to teach the kubelet to be resilient to every problem. So an admin will have to come in, or the vendor will have to come in and do things like the CPU manager problem that Francesco mentioned, like OpenShift updated the service file for the kubelet to handle that situation. So there are some cases, but in my ideal world, anything that would break the kubelet upon starting, the kubelet should either clean up or not break for.
Yeah, I agree with you, Peter. Directionally, I just don't know how much we want to commit on supporting and testing those scenarios, especially on upgrade.
Right.
We have very limited test grid, and I mean, as Don said, downstream vendors may test their own distributions and upgrade procedures, and that's maybe their responsibility. Okay, if there's any volunteer to take over and like document this, please speak up or comment on the thread. If not, we will try to find somebody. Okay, next topic. I am nominating myself for approver. I sent a PR. Thank you for all people supporting it. If you have any feedback for me and you want to share privately or publicly, please do that. I'm always open to criticism. Okay, no feedback here. Thank you for the emojis on the screen. Peter?
Yeah, in a similar vein of SIG leadership, I want to propose to the SIG that I may run as a SIG chair. I have a little bit of a shorter tenure, but I've stepped up a little bit recently on some of the SIG sort of organizational activities, and I would be happy to codify that officially. So probably shortly after this, there will also be a nomination for that. If you have any sort of feedback for me, publicly or privately, please share it. Be happy to hear any thoughts.
I think my only thought is that I'm really grateful for you stepping up, and as we discussed on Retro past week, we have over 40 caps that needs to be wrangled for every release, and then 22 was tracked, and then out of those 22, so many PRs and so many documentation updates. So we need all the help we can get, and this is aligned with my next topic. We had a Retro past week, and we received a lot of feedback on responsiveness of SIG in many various aspects. And we had a meeting with Don, Derek, Brunel, and this is document we kind of summarize some of the action items we want to take. I want to quickly go through the document. I wouldn't go into very details. And I want to highlight that it's not like full document, like not all the actions we will ever take, or by any means it's not full. It's also living document. We will try and fail and try and succeed. It really depends on like how it will go, and whatever will work will stick, and hopefully we will make things better in the process. So first problem that was highlighted is cap tracking. We doing quite good in terms of cap tracking. Historically, like very long time ago, it was kind of a contributor drives everything, including putting their cap into milestone, and there wasn't process for that, and there wasn't discussion. We didn't assign approvers and reviewers formally. Now we're doing better, but we due to sheer volume of caps, it's just hard to maintain. So for 132, we will try to do project board on GitHub for caps tracking. We will also try to assign people, like if it's new contributor, we will try to see if this contributor want to pair up with somebody experienced. We also want to try to like poke reviewers and approvers so they can they know that something is happening and they need to put some attention on that. We also will track more milestones. Today we will mostly track enhancement freeze milestone, a little bit of code freeze, but not explicitly. Now we want to track all milestones, and we will be putting extra focus on docs because we had some problems in the past. And finally, for API reviews, we had this problem of back and forth with API reviewers, and so it was one of the feedbacks, and we will try to do better here. We will improve some contributing documentation, saying that suggesting some processes how to approach this problem, but by no means we will make it easier because contributing to SIG Node is hard, but we will try to make it understandable. And then cap wrangling. Thank you, Peter, for stepping up as SIG chair. It will really help. But also, if anybody interested in taking more responsibility in cap wrangling or helping with driving retrospective or even like daily updates of caps, we can please help. If you think you want to get some role, there are some roles in communities that we can try to put in our group. Like PR wrangler is a new role that was introduced by SIG docs, and we can adapt it if it helps. And for CI test improvements, we had a lot of feedback that we don't react on SIG test failures fast enough. And it's understandable because sheer volume of tests is huge. SIG Node is one of the biggest SIGs. With this proposal, we explicitly saying we don't expect people to be heroes. I mean, you are a hero by working here, and you don't need to work weekends or odd hours to make it better. We can always adjust. I mean, we better adjust schedule for Kubernetes, and we will make people burn on that, at least not on a regular basis. And what we want to improve, though, is we want to do even easier rollbacks. If you see some PR broke tests, please feel free to just indicate that this PR broke test, and we will be much easier at giving approval on rolling back. We will watch Slack notifications. We hesitant to create new alias because it just may be abused. We will try to watch Slack notification more closely, and if it will fail, we will start creating Slack alias or any other means to notify the group. And yeah, bringing more people again. The same story here. We already have more people joining SIG Node CI meeting and taking more active role here. Hopefully, we'll get more and more people like that. And finally, we will try to make individual cap progress faster by improving processes and how you request reviews, how do you find out who can review stuff. I don't have any, like, we didn't come up with like all the steps we can make here, but slow progress of improving contributing MD, making improvements in owners files will definitely go a long way. If you have an idea what else can be done, please also contribute here. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, but okay, I mean, I'll just ask. Maybe it's too early to tell, but I'm just asking. So, about the cap process, because it was mentioned a few times, like for example, having a more experienced contributor, which is a great idea, by the way. But do we plan, or are we thinking about something like a regular checkpoint, because up until now my experience is that we had some kind of irregular checkpoint during, for example, the development cycle. But I'm wondering if, like, let's say just week 7, just a random number, no matter what's the agenda, we do a kept checkpointing and we see where do we stand. I mean, really just asking and thinking aloud.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
an idea. Oh, go ahead. No.
yeah, I think we can definitely do that, right? Like as the deadlines come closer and after the kept freeze, I think we do a good job of tracking the kept freeze. But after that, I think we can check the code freeze, and the week after that, we can do the doc freeze. So the beginning of the SIG node call, I think we can start with that and try to do a cleanup of dropping keps that are not being worked on actively. So yeah, definitely +1 on being more proactive there.
Yeah, and historically it was hard to manage a doc file with all the caps. So I think project board may help with week-to-week checkpointing. Okay, document is linked from meeting notes. Please comment and suggest more ideas. And with that, I will go to Paco's topic. Again, another release topic. I don't think Paco joined, right? I can try to speak on that. I think there is a PR in what is this? I'm spacing out on words. What is the tool that deploys Kubernetes? Oh, man. I'm so
Kubadman?
embarrassed. Yeah, so we also have system validators, and we have sorry, I spaced out on a tool. So Paco is writing documentation on kernel support. This documentation is mostly documenting stuff, and some of those are checked in kubelet code itself. We have validation that like user namespaces only support after those kernel versions, that kind of stuff, or sysctl validation, or sysctl being namespaced or non-namespaced. All those validations are in code in kubelet, but we don't ever check minimal version of kubelet, minimal version of kernel needed for kubelet. So that's kind of one thing that we may do. I don't know what Paco asked here, but I want to bring to everybody attention that we have a lot of kernel version validations and kernel recommendations. If you want to familiarize yourself with that, please look at those caps, or look at this PR, and if you want to add kubelet validation on startup, that it wouldn't start with C group v2 and kernel earlier than 4. I don't remember, 4, I think. No, yeah, if it's 4.4, then it wouldn't start. This validation would be helpful, even though I hope that nobody running on that early of kernels.
Yeah, I can chime in on the issue. I think generally, I
Okay.
think having the kubelet sort of encode information about the exact kernel version is kind of risky because of like the point that Paco brought up, which is like this very old 4.4 and 4.19 have like all these features backported to it. I almost wonder if like the paradigm of having the kubelet probe the kernel features is more sustainable. So we don't have to have this like matrix of like 4.4 is supported, but only after 4.4, like 200 or whatever the version is, you know, to make sure that we have all of the features that we want, especially because a lot of downstream kernels backport things, but have bespoke version numbers for that. Like they don't follow the upstream LTS. So I'm not sure we can really like commit to having the kubelet itself know of the full matrix of like features that are supported and downstream kernels that potentially support them.
I think, yeah, another issue I think is like, for example, in RHEL, right? Like a lot of features are backported. So just going by the version doesn't work versus doing a feature check. I think, what was the thing? For swap, we looked into adding a check for the TempFS support, right? Disabling on TempFS. So I think maybe checks of those nature may be a better indicator of whether it's going to work on a kernel or not.
So I think it would be good for us to sort of be thinking about this and like compile a list of all of the things that we expect a modern kubelet to be able to do, and some of the things that we expect the kubelet to be able to notice that it can't do but continue to run correctly, and then find ways to more concretely test their presence rather than trying a version check that's, you know, dubiously works. But we can,
It's a
I can bring that up in the PR.
I don't know how much of it we can. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's continue discussion on GitHub. I think we are at the end of our agenda for today. Is there anything else? If not, then we can end shortly. Thank you. Bye.